This is what replaces the pretty much legendary HyperX Cloud 2. That thing is insanely popular. This new Cloud 3 aims to one-up that legendary design in some key areas. One of the things the Cloud 2s were really well known for was their comfort, and that's something the Cloud 3s don't disappoint on. They're pretty lightweight, definitely not the lightest you can get. It's alright though, because they more than make up for it with loads of thick soft padding and the perfect amount of clamping force. The yokes don't allow for any swivel, but they do have pivot motion, so they can move back and forth just a tiny little bit there, and that could be enough to help adjust to different head shapes and sizes. The only downside for me when it comes to comfort is these contact materials are just pleather. It's great for keeping things clean, you can wipe it down and not have to worry about it absorbing any moisture, but it gets hot and sweaty and just feels kind of sticky. After wearing these things for a couple hours in a hardcore gaming session, I feel like I have to peel it off of the side of my face. That's why I prefer cloth. Hygiene aside, cloth's just a more comfortable material to have up against your face. For size adjustment, we have the usual telescopic movement here. There are some tactile bumps you can feel as you move it in or out. They're subtle, but it's better than nothing. And they could have pretty easily made this even better just by adding some clear adjustment markings on there. I like being able to see my different length settings, just makes the whole adjustment process that much quicker and easier. As far as the build quality goes, feels good. The internal frame's all metal, so it's actually a really strong feeling core, but it's flexible at the same time. You can tell the connections at the ear cups are solid, doesn't feel like they're gonna let go on you, and that's a common point of failure on any headset, especially ones where the connections are all plastic. The rest of the headset is plastic though, the entire ear cups are all plastic all the way around, and this metal arch fits inside the headband here through these little plastic openings. There's also these tiny little wires that run from each ear cup up through the headband arch. They look super thin and delicate, but when you play around with it and tug on it a little bit, you can tell the connection's actually really strong. The main wire feels like a really nice quality braided cable. It's permanently attached to the headset. Removable would have been nice, but hey, HyperX seems to disagree. It's got that signature black and red HyperX color. It's fairly thick, feels strong, and it looks good. It's just under 4 feet long, which is really not that long on its own, but then there's this other cable that it comes with that you can connect to, and that one adds another 4¼ feet. So altogether you can get just over 8 feet, which is actually decent. This one has a USB connection, and it houses the built-in sound card that lets you configure the sound with HyperX's Ingenuity software on compatible devices. If you don't care about Ingenuity or any of the built-in sound features that come with this thing, then you can bypass all that pretty easily just by taking that 3.5mm connector and going straight into your own DAC. But you will need a separate splitter cable for devices like the PC that have separate headphone and mic jacks. The mic boom's detachable and flexible. It plugs right into the left ear cup on the headset. The actual capsule's huge. Look at this thing. It's like one of those big headset mics that pilots use. It's not really long enough to position right in front of your mouth. It kind of sits off to the side, and given its size, that's probably a good thing, because if it was right in front of your face, it'd probably be pretty noticeable and distracting. There's a small mute button on the back of the left ear cup. Press it, and this tiny little red LED comes on to let you know you're muted. That's great. It's always nice to have a little visual cue so you don't accidentally say something on mic that can get you into trouble. Not that I've done that before. The mic quality on here is pretty good. I don't hear any static or hissing sounds being picked up in the background. I think it's got a bit of an edge over mics on most wireless headsets just because that wired connection allows for more bandwidth. It's still not anywhere near what I'd consider pro level quality, but it's perfect for in-game comms, and I think it's going to be good enough to get you started with streaming or gameplay recording for sharing on social media. For an integrated mic on a headset in this price range, I think HyperX did a pretty good job. But the fact is, you can still get better recording quality out of a relatively inexpensive desktop USB microphone. Even something like HyperX's own SoloCast is going to eclipse this in terms of quality. Quick note about setup, because I always seem to get comments about my recording sounding better than what people seem to be able to get on their own. If you're on a Windows PC or any device that lets you configure the settings for audio devices, go to your sound settings menu, select the headset, and make sure you set the format to at least 24-bit, 48,000 Hz. If you do that for both the microphone input and speaker output, your audio should sound just like mine. HyperX went with big 53mm drivers on here that they say are tuned to optimize the listening experience for gaming. I was super excited to test them out. I got the headset out of the box, I plugged them into my PC, fired up Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, cranked up the volume, and I was kind of let down. For the successor to a headset as popular as the Cloud 2s, I expected more out of the box. These Cloud 3s seem to lack bass. That's weird for a headset that's supposed to be tuned for gaming. Usually it's the other way around, where gaming headsets are just way too bassy. Nope, not the case here, not with the Cloud 3. It sounds like the highs are too high and the lows are not really there. In a shooter game, that translates into empty sounding gunfire and weak explosions. Remember when I said you can bypass Ingenuity? Here's why you won't want to do that. Ingenuity is where you can adjust the settings, apply some preset effects, and create your own EQ profile. Turning on the bass boost preset makes a pretty big difference. It adds some of that missing low frequency sound, but doesn't really seem to address the issue with the treble or the highs sounding too high. I tried all the included presets, and some of them actually made a pretty good difference, but nothing quite got me to what I was looking for. So I just made my own. I boosted the low end to bring out the bass and dropped the high end to lower the highs. And that made a huge difference for me. I wish it came tuned like this out of the box. With my custom EQ, I could actually hear what these big drivers were capable of, and they sound pretty good. I was hearing the directionality of weapon reloads and footsteps. I could tell where enemies were gonna appear. Gunfire and explosions sounded way better than before, and I was able to forget about what I didn't like and just focus on the game. There's also an included feature called DTS that you can enable in Ingenuity. It basically creates an artificial 3D soundstage. It's supposed to give you an advantage by bringing out the fine details and enhancing the directionality. But it's just like every other virtual surround sound enhancement. It destroys the audio quality to create the effect. So in my opinion, it isn't really worth using, and it's not really necessary anyway once you get the drivers tuned properly. So the Cloud 3 is an interesting headset. It's got the legendary design and comfort that the Cloud series is known for. The microphone quality is good for what it is, but out of the box, it comes up a little short in the most important part, the listening experience. The good news is you can increase the audio quality just by clicking on a preset in Ingenuity. It's that easy. For most people, average gamers and non-audiophiles, it'll probably be good enough. But if you're a more advanced listener, you can mess around with the EQ and tune these yourself to squeeze out a bit better experience. At its current price point, it's gonna be up against some strong competition, but for the right user, I think it can be a good choice. For the latest up-to-date pricing, check the links down in the description of this video, and I'm gonna have some more specs, details, and information for you down there as well. Leave us a comment and tell us what you think of the Cloud 3, and also if you have experience with the Cloud 2, would love to hear it, what you think of those things, and whether or not you're gonna make the jump to the new Cloud 3. Get subscribed on your way out, and we'll see you soon.